Hi there, and welcome to my home. My name is Jason Champagne. I am chef owner of Native Chef LLC, and I'll be doing quite a few videos coming up. I want to thank the Muskogee Nation of Oklahoma for this opportunity to present, and I'll be doing a lot of cooking videos from my home here in Eudora, Kansas, and this is the very first one. This one is on kitchen essentials and kitchen equipment. Utensils and the importance of having those, the correct ones in the house and in the kitchen. And I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you watch many more of my videos to come. Okay, welcome to my kitchen. Today I thought we'd start this series off with a lesson on kitchen essentials and kitchen equipment and utensils. Okay, so a lot of people they may not have everything they need to be successful in the kitchen at home. A lot of health professionals will tell people, well, you need to cook this or that, or you need to do this or that, but do they really, do these people at home have what they need to be able to successfully cook these meals, right? So that's what this lesson's about. It's about equipment and utensils. And some of you out there may have all of it. Some of you may not have all of it. Some of you may even have more than what you need. It's also important that we're not overloaded with certain utensils, and our kitchens get cluttered. So it's important that we have the essentials, what we need, and maybe discard a few others if you don't need them. And so for example, if somebody walked into my house right now and said, you have 30 minutes to grab everything that you're going to use for the next 3 months, let's say, to do your job or to cook at home. What would be those key essential items? And maybe I only have a couple small bag or duffel bags to put it in, and I'm limited with space. What I'm going to show you today is the basics of what I think is the basic essentials of what you need in the kitchen to be successful. Okay, so what I have in front of me here is the basics of the kitchen utensils that we need. Okay, so I'm going to start over here on the left, and what we have is a solid, very sturdy, solid plastic spoon, serving spoon, whatever, dishing it up. Okay, it's solid. Very sturdy, slotted spoon. It's got holes in it if you're picking stuff up and you want it to drain. Okay, a plastic, very hard plastic, sturdy, flat spatula. It's got a really thin tip on it, so if you're flipping eggs or something, it's easy to get out of the pan. Okay, got a basting brush. Very important to have a basting brush, especially if you like to do a lot of roasting and you take those meats and brush those juices on top of the meats that help keep the meat moist while they roast. Okay, it's also silicone on the edges. Okay, a good serving tongs or gripping tongs or whatever. This is really essential to have. Obviously, you probably can't have too many of these, but if you just had a few of them, one of them would be good. That's something I look at. Okay, a ladle. Okay, it's nice to have a good size ladle. This is 2 ounce. Could use a little bit bigger, but nice to have a good ladle, and a smaller ladle, especially if you're making homemade vinaigrettes at home. Nice to have a smaller ladle. Okay. Measuring cups. What I like about these measuring cups is they're all connected at the bottom here. Okay. And so if I need to take some off, I can. But normally what I do is I'll use it, and then I'll just end up, if these get dirty at all, I'll end up washing all of it anyways. But what I like about this is they stay together and they store really easy. Okay, so we don't want our drawers to get cluttered. We don't want our kitchen to get cluttered. Nice to have an item like that. Measuring spoons, again, they're all connected at the bottom. Okay, and they're easy to store. So if I need a tablespoon or a half tablespoon or third of a tablespoon or a fourth of a tablespoon, they're all right here for me. And again, I don't disconnect them. I just use one and then wash them all and pretty much let them air dry. Okay. A lot of us, I don't think there's anybody out there that don't make mashed potatoes. It's nice to have a potato masher. Okay, be careful if you use this in pans that are Teflon coated. You don't want to be chipping the Teflon off. Okay, You'll think you put pepper in your mashed potatoes already when it's not pepper, it's Teflon. So just be careful when you use this if you use it in a pan. Normally I mash potatoes in a separate bowl, a plastic bowl, okay? But it's really nice to have if you're making homemade avocados or guacamole or something. It's nice to have, okay? Pretty important to have a good can opener. This one's a really sturdy one. This has lasted probably about 4 or 5 years. I paid about $8, maybe $7, $8 for it. But it's really good to make a good investment into a good can opener that's easy to use, that's not going to flaw on you. And if you buy those $1 or $2 ones, you're going to end up replacing them anyways. You probably won't like them. So make a good investment into that. Potato peeler, that's pretty important. You got to get a potato peeler that feels good to you. This has a good handle on it, and I've had this since culinary school in 2006, so this has lasted me forever. I might have paid a little bit more than the average potato peeler, but really good and easy to use, okay? Rubber spatula, really nice to have if you're making sauces, or if you're mixing mashed potatoes, or if you're tossing stuff in a bowl, you're making a fruit salad, or you're making a pasta salad. Nice to have a good solid rubber spatula. Probably the most important here is this food thermometer. Okay, it's a little bit pricey. I maybe paid about maybe $10 or $15 for it, but it's really worth it. It's digital. Okay, we'll go over meat thermometers in future presentations. Okay. Kitchen timer. Pretty important to have a good kitchen timer. Okay, I paid a little bit more money for this one, but it's got 3 settings on it. Okay, so it's got if I have 3 different things in the oven, it's, you know, I only have 1 timer on the oven, but I have 3 of them here, so I can set timers for 3 different items. And you know, I cook for large quantities of people sometimes, so this really comes in handy where I need to take certain things out of the oven before others. Okay, really important to have. Okay, a good solid whisk. This is metal and really easy to use, really firm. Make a good investment into a good solid whisk. And then this one is a silicone coated whisk. And the reason it's silicone coated is because if you're whisking, let's say, a sauce in a pan that can scratch, you're not going to scratch it with metal. It's silicone coated. So make that good investment into that one. Okay, kitchen pans. We don't want to really overclutter our cabinets, so it's nice to have 3 different sizes of pans. And this one is a 12-inch pan. It's a non-stick pan. Okay, this one is a 10-inch pan, and this one is an 8-inch pan. Okay, and what's important about these is, you know, it matters on what you're cooking and the menu, but sometimes you need the bigger one, sometimes you need a smaller one, sometimes you need an even smaller one. Okay, but it's nice to have a variation of all 3. And what's nice is they all stack inside of each other. Okay, but one recommendation I can tell you is, what I do is I put paper towels, or I put a towel down before I store this one on top of it. And then I put a paper towel down, or a towel, before I store this one on top of it. So it's nice for storage where they all go into one. But you don't want to put these in there and then scratch the bottom of your pan with this part, okay? So always remember, if you stack them, have them in there. We'll go over pans in future presentations, different types and the best kind to get. Okay, it's important to get some good knives, okay? And if you can't get a full set, then the recommendations I would have for having knives in your kitchen would be to have a chef knife, okay? So this is a really nice chef knife. I don't think you probably get one this expensive, but do some reviews. Try to get a good solid chef knife. You don't have to pay too much, okay? Have a bread knife. We'll go over knives more in future presentations, but for now, you know, I just want to tell you the essential ones to have. This is a bread knife or serrated knife, okay? It's nice to have a knife with a good serrated edge on it, okay? And then a utility knife. Nice to have a utility knife. Okay, it's not as big as a chef knife, but it's doesn't even have to have this lip. Just have a good sturdy knife that's really sturdy and bigger than a paring knife, but smaller than a bread knife or a chef knife, okay? And then have a good sturdy paring knife. Pretty important to have that in the kitchen. So one of the most important kitchen items that we're going to cover is a double broiler, okay? So this is the key to cooking healthy. Okay, we're steaming. We're using steam instead of sauteing with oil, okay? And so what I have two different ones here, and I'd like to go into detail about these, so very important in the kitchen. So what's so important about having a double broiler is the fact that we can steam vegetables. It's such a healthy way of cooking, is to be able to steam vegetables. And what's nice about these, I have two different ones here. And both of these ones on this side, they have holes in them. You see those perforated holes? So basically what you do is you put water at the bottom of this, probably about 1.5 to 2 inches of water at the bottom of this one, okay? And then once it comes to a boil, then you can put, if you only need this one, you can use this one. If you got this one, what's nice is if you have two different types of vegetables, you can do two different types of vegetables at the same time. So you got your vegetables cut up and put in this one. You got your vegetables cut up and put in this one. Then you cover, and what's happening is that water that's boiling is evaporating, right? So the steam is rising up, and we're capturing that steam and kind of creating a pressure cooker by putting the cover. And we'll talk about time efficiency in future presentations, making your life easier in the kitchen. But one thing that you can learn to do is kind of utilize your time correctly. So what I would do is I would start the water first, right? I would get the water filled into this. I would put the cover on it. I would go put it on the flat top, okay? And then I would set these two up. If I'm only using one, I would set one up. I would put my cutting board in front of it, right? And then I'd start cutting my vegetables and putting my vegetables into here. So while water's coming to a boil, we're cutting up our vegetables, okay? And then whenever the water's to the boil, we've got all our vegetables cut up, and then all we got to do is go throw it into our pot. And I think what a lot of people do is they go ahead and cut up their vegetables first, and then they put everything on top of here, then they fill that up with water, and then they go put it on the stove top, and then they wait for it to start boiling. And again, it's all about time efficiency, utilizing our time correctly in the kitchen, and just having a better, funner experience in the kitchen. That's all about it. It's all about time, right? We're all limited with time, and I'm going to help you start learning how to use your time more efficiently. This one here, this is about a 6-quart one, this big one. This one's a smaller one. The only difference with this one, this is a 3-quart, is that this middle one doesn't have perforated holes. So this is more for a smaller family, maybe a family of 2, possibly 4. And so that's how you would do that one. This one's got the perforated holes. Okay. I think this one's more for like melting cheese or melting chocolate or something. It's more like a double broiler where it's not directly on the water or the flame, so the evaporation is kind of heating the bottom and melting something slowly. Okay, crock pots, in my opinion, are essential. They're so nice to have. They make life easier when you're cooking. And probably the best thing is that they make your house smell amazing. That's one of the favorite things I love about crock pots. I have 3 different variations here. I have one that's got a smaller bottom, but it's a little bit taller, right? This is your conventional, I believe it's a 6-quart crock pot, okay? It's got settings for low, high, and warm, okay? And then I got this smaller one. So, it matters on how big your family is. If you don't have a really big family, or if you're by yourself, you don't really need a big one because, again, we talk about making our lives easier in the kitchen. We don't want to have to clean too large of a dish if we didn't need it, right? So then this is a smaller one. I believe this is a 2-quart one, okay? And then this one's one that recently came out. This is a crock pot that's actually flatter on the bottom. So it's more of a casserole dish, okay? More of a casserole dish. And so I like this one probably better than all of them because the meat or whatever you put in there doesn't really have to sit on top of each other. You can kind of layer, like if you're doing chicken breasts or something, you can layer them, 6 to 8 of them in this thing, and then you can pour your sauce or toppings on top, you know, and then you can put it on low all day. Really nice to have, but I would really suggest in making an investment into a nice crock pot. They're not too much money, and they just are great investment to make into healthy cooking. And again, they make your place smell tremendous. Okay, the stock pot is 2 quarts. Okay, it's nice to have a smaller pot. Like, for example, you want to heat up some leftovers, or you have a small pot of soup or something you want to heat up and you don't need a big one. A smaller 2-quart one is perfect. Again, we'll talk more about time efficiency and utilizing your time to the best of your ability in the kitchen. One of them is not creating too many dishes, okay? So if you don't need the big one, it's nice to have a smaller option, okay? Or if you're cooking 2 different items, you have a smaller one, and then this is a stock pot. So this is a 6-quart one. So this is, again, it's good for a big soup or a chili or something that you can set in kind of a low temperature. Holds a lot of liquid. Or later on I'll do a homemade tomato sauce. And what's nice about this is if your tomato sauce only comes up to this level right here, when it splatters, it won't kind of splatter. Sometimes it splatters, and if the tomato sauce is too high on the pan, you'll have all red spots all over the place, and you know, make your cleaning up harder. But it's nice to simmer like a homemade tomato sauce lower in the pot, so it doesn't splatter all over. And then this is a small food processor. So I like to make, you know, chop up garlic. I love garlic, and it takes time to peel garlic and to chop it up individually. So sometimes what I do is I like to take this and I like to chop up maybe 10 or 15 cloves of garlic at one time, really quickly, and then I'm able to store that in the fridge in a covered container for at least a week and a half minimum. And one thing I can tell you when you use an item like this is make sure that whenever you're done with it, rinse it off, because what happens, especially with garlic, is it hardens even after like 30 minutes to an hour. So as soon as I'm done with this item, I go rinse it off right away. Same thing with your chef knives. Don't let that stuff harden. Rinse it off right away, right when it's still kind of moist, where it can come off easily, because that's where accidents happen. You let stuff harden up on blades like this, and then you go to clean it, and that's when an accident happens. So, piece of advice: always rinse this stuff off when you're done. And I believe this is a 2-cup food processor. It's Cuisinart. And it was only about $20, but it sits on my countertop, and you know, I just love it. It's a nice piece of kind of like a decoration, you know, in your kitchen. And it's not too big; it's smaller. And it comes with this little scraping tool, so you can get all that stuff out of there. Colanders and mixing bowls. Very important to have a few of them. These are really sturdy, hard plastic mixing bowls. They stack into each other. They're fairly deep. Really nice to have for mixing stuff together. Okay, and then they're also great for serving. Colanders. It's nice to have 2 different sizes. Okay, one big one and one small one. They're really sturdy, hard plastic. One big one. The reason being is that, let's say for example, you're only rinsing off maybe some blueberries or a small item. We don't want to use a big one for a small item, right? Because it's all about using our time correctly in the kitchen, and we create dishes. So this is a bigger item we'd have to wash, and I like to let my stuff air dry, so this will take up a lot of room on my countertop whenever I let stuff air dry. So, but then again, we might need them for rinsing off a bunch of fruit at one time or something. You know, it's nice to have the bigger one option when you need it, and it's nice to have the smaller option when you need it. So as you can see here, I have 3 different cutting boards in front of me. I have a red one, and I have a bigger white one, and a smaller white one. So normally the red one, we always want to use one cutting board for raw meat. Okay, that's it. If you don't want to use it for anything else but raw meat, normally it's the color red. Okay, you want to have one that's just for raw meat. Okay, you want to have one that you cut your vegetables on and you cut your other stuff on. Okay, Then you want to have a smaller one, just in case you don't want to do too many dishes, or you don't want to, this doesn't take up so much room, and you have a small item like cutting up a little bit of cheese or something. It's nice to have a smaller cutting board. And the reason I like to have a bigger cutting board, this would probably run you about $12, possibly a little bit more, but the reason being is that if you're cutting up smaller items, you could store them in the corners of it, and then still leave yourself enough room to use your cutting, your knife, and not be, become crowded. And if you were just to use this little cutting board, first of all, you'd be kind of like working a little bit slower or steadier so that you're not knocking the stuff off onto the countertop, right? And then once you cut up something, then you have to find a bowl to put it in, and all these bowls, and then all of a sudden you have all these extra dishes to do. And it's all about time efficiency in the kitchen, and that has to do with dishes too, not creating too many of those. So investing in a good bigger cutting board is really good. It's one of the better investments you're going to make in the kitchen. This one is about 16 inches by 10 inches. Okay, sheet pans. Sheet pans are pretty important to have. It's always nice to have a larger one again and a smaller one, okay? This smaller one needs to be probably replaced soon, but it's nice for smaller items. Again, we talk about we don't want to be cluttering our dish area, right? If we don't need this gigantic one, then we don't need it. This one's about 16 inches by 10 inches. What's nice about having a larger one, though, is you can always, bake stuff on it. It's shallow. You can always put a roasting rack on top if you need to, but as I teach these classes as we go, I'm going to teach about kitchen efficiency, and part of that is how to utilize your time correctly and how to kind of bring meals together at the end. What's nice about this is if you're ever pan sautéing something, or if you're grilling for a large group outside and you don't want to leave the meat on the grill because you still have half an hour before they're going to be there. You can always utilize a pan like this where you can put stuff on top of it, and then use your oven as a holding oven at 180. I think most ovens go down to 165. So if you hold it at 180, then it's always going to be waiting for you. It's safely being held at a good temperature, and then you can get all your other stuff done while your meat's resting and being held, and everything kind of comes together at the end. Definitely essential. I look for them whenever I go anywhere to cook. They're essential to have. You could probably get a pack of these. I think there are 3 of them for $15 at Sam's Club, but very essential to have. Well, that's it for all the kitchen essential equipment. Again, there's more equipment you can get out there that I didn't cover. I just covered the basics. Like I said, when I go into places, it's amazing how many places I go into, and I try to help cook, and I'm looking for certain items and I just can't find them. So that was a list, in my opinion, of the most essential equipment that you need in your kitchen to be able to do a lot of different types of meals. And some of you may not have a lot of that equipment to start, and it might cost a little bit of an investment, but that investment is so worth it. Look at it like you're investing into your family's future, your kids' future, your health, your well-being. You buy the right equipment, it should last you for years and years to come. And then there's some people out there, and I'm guilty of that, of having too much stuff. I have a habit of picking up a lot of stuff at garage sales, and I have way too many things around my kitchen and storing it and all that stuff. Most of that stuff I need because sometimes I serve for large quantities of people, and I need a lot of serving utensil stuff. But if you're one of those that may have too much stuff in your kitchen, you might want to just kind of pull everything out, look at what you have, and think to yourself, well, maybe I can go without these many of this, or maybe I should invest into a new can opener because this one just really keeps frustrating me. So some of you may want to kind of look at what you have and then maybe either give some of it away or donate it or whatever. It's all about keeping our kitchen from becoming cluttered and knowing where everything is, and just having a better overall experience in the kitchen. And I appreciate you guys watching, and I hope that this essential equipment list will help you guys out. Miigwech. Well, that's the end of the kitchen essentials, equipment, and utensils, and I really hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you got something out of it, and you know, a lot of us sometimes, like I said, we have sometimes too many utensils and our kitchens are cluttered, or sometimes we don't have enough. So I hope this video helps you get organized in the kitchen, pick up a few things you may need, and try to have everything you need in the kitchen to be successful. And again, thank you to the Muskogee Nation of Oklahoma for this opportunity to present, and I'm just very fortunate and thankful for that, and I look forward to seeing you at the next video. Thanks.